the first TSI, he lost sight in the right, or this area of sight.
The left hemisphere.
Oh, sorry, it was the left hemisphere. Yeah, the left hemisphere of sight went. Now, if I had known that there was another kind of stroke apart from the frontal lobal stroke, I could have got him to a doctor immediately. But I got him to stand and smile and raise his arms, raise his legs one at a time, and he could do that perfectly well. So I said, "Oh, you're all right. You've just been at the computer for too long." By the next morning, it was irretrievable. So it's very important to be aware that sometimes there's a lot of blood happens in the back of the brain, and it will affect sight or hearing. And the hearing one came a couple of years later, and we were away from home at that time, and he wasn't quite sure what was happening. With the hearing problem, he suddenly went deaf on the left side, but he also couldn't walk in a straight line. He was going sideways when he was trying to walk straight. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And we got him to a doctor, but it was too late by the time we got back home and to a doctor to remedy that too. So he had those two permanently until the first frontal lobal stroke, which was quite big. I was away when it happened, and I had a phone call to say that he was in Marsden Hospital. I got back as quickly as I could the day after the stroke, and saw him and was very alarmed. His speech had gone. I didn't know what he was trying to say. He had no movement in the left side of his body, arm or leg. And I didn't know about stroke recovery. I imagined he was going to be like this because the other two, the lighter strokes that affected his eye and hearing, they were not reversible. However, by the time Terry came out of hospital, his speech was clear, and although he had weakness on his left side, he was walking without a walker. Sometime later, how long later, Terry, about a couple of years was it? Getting out of bed, he fell, his legs gave way under him, and that was another stroke. And again, I wasn't here, and he crawled to the phone. We keep the phone down low because if one of us falls and is helpless, it's good to have phone with you can just reach and dial 111, which is what he did. So that was stroke, the frontal lobal stroke number 2. And then the third one, he recovered fairly well from that too. And when the third one came, they first thought, and the staff in the hospital thought that he hadn't improved from the one before, but he actually had. So it came again. The doctor asked me if I would take over the medication. Now, I didn't. It was hard for you, wasn't it? Because it was something that you did for yourself, and you really didn't want to put it over to me because there are whole areas of loss that Terry was coping with, and losing the right to take his own medication was just another one of those. And I think you were marvellous the way you accepted that eventually.
The hardest part is not allowed to drive. That's what I find the hardest is. haven't been dependent on people to get anywhere.
Because that went early with the first TSI when he lost the left field of vision. And I could drive. Then my sight started going with macular degeneration. And I've got some peripheral vision, but I've got no vision in the right eye and between 30 and 40% in the left eye. So no driving. So, and we're not great at walking either, are we? You need to adapt. You need to change the way you do things. That's not easy when you get old because you want to reach back and as Terry said, that was the hardest thing, letting go of driving because he had always loved cars and had loved driving. You once told me that you would have been a good chauffeur. Well, you were a good chauffeur. And you have to be prepared to change, to adapt. And the life we share is, I would say it's rich, wouldn't you?
Yes, yes.
And it's about not being afraid to be human, not being afraid to change. We both get tired at times, so we both go and have a sleep.
I find it's a bit of a danger having so much done for me, being undressed and dressed. And I find I can be a bit inclined to sit back and wait for people to do things for me, which is not good.
Would you wish to change that?
But Joy is right. We do compliment each other. We do talk of one person, which is us.
Yeah, we say that. We are one person called us. We have time together that is, it's almost sacred, isn't it? Towards the evening.
Yes.
Come in. And some nights I poured a little glass of wine for each of us, and we sit down and watch the chase, watch news. But we also, this is a special time for us, that one person called us. So we're not too keen on phone calls at that time, and we've let the family know that because it's our time, and I think it's important to have that sharing. And it's not just a matter of, I don't watch much TV, but during the day we usually have the concert program on. That's important to both of us. What else do we share? Oh, the cryptic crossword. Yeah, every morning I photocopy the cryptic crossword and we both sit down to do it. And it's interesting, I say we're opposite. He can always get the clues I can't get, and the other way around. The difficulties that come are usually about Terry's lack of mobility, the fact that he can't walk down to a track, get a train anywhere. He used to do that. He really can't walk out of the house now. He doesn't go far just looking at the garden without getting very tired and breathless and having to sit down. And I think, well, one day I'm going to be like this. And when I'm like this, I will, if I haven't just turned into a tree or something, I will know how to deal with it. But it's we learn day by day, don't we, dear?
Yes, yes.
And I don't expect Terry to do what he can't do. He still has some mobility in the house, and that is very important. He uses the walker mainly, and that's good for us both, that he can walk. And I just pray that that will continue, that he is able to walk and with his walker. He needs help to get in and out of bed. What is important is that we have time together. We are so different, but we just blend so well together. And that's still going on, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Oh, we've learned heaps and just so much. And mostly, I think we've learned not to be afraid to be human. Just to trust the life that we've been given and to adapt to the calls that are made on that life. Every part of life is satisfied. I would say don't try to live backwards. Don't try to reclaim life as it was. Look on this as a new journey, an exciting journey, and just know that it can be a very rich time. Your world may become smaller, but it will be more valuable and more precious with sharing. Don't allow yourself to get tired. Terry and I, we both do it. When we are tired, we sleep. And other things don't need to be done. Keep life at a simple level. Don't tell yourself that you must do this or you must do that. Give yourself plenty of time for relaxation and value the sharing time. Value humor, value memories. Certainly the person who's had a stroke might have some confusion with and difficulty with recent memory, but usually the old memories are still there. So it's like getting out a photograph album. Bring out the old memories and share them. It helps the person who's had the stroke, it helps their speech to talk about these. And I think it is also an aid to improving more recent memory. Make connections.
Try and accept things as they are. Get plenty of rest, plenty of sleep, and give time to heal.
You know, we get too stressed over things that don't matter. We clutter our lives with unimportant things. Look at what is important, and always it will come back to love, because that's the most important thing in life.
Well, it certainly means something. A loss of certain faculties
Well, for me, my experience of loss is not important. That's because it's there is a gain in taking care of Terry. He's always been a kind and loving man, but now he's more dependent. He needs more of me, and I respond to that. It's lovely that he does need me. That's important to me. Our world has grown small. It's a very beautiful small world. And the small things in it have a great meaning. So yes, it is, for me, it's a beautiful little world. And we're very much together.